With the Iowa caucus coming up very shortly, all eyes are on who is going to be the next Republican candidate. Or to some people, who's going to beat Mitt Romney because dear God, we don't want Mitt Romney. For many people, that was Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House during President Clinton's second presidential campaign. He seemed to be a conservative voter's dream boy, despite having a pretty shaky start. However, recently this week, he suffered from a serious drop in the campaign polls. Political analysts suspect that it has something maybe to do with some negative ads that's been run by a pro-Romney super PAC called Restore Our Future. But what is a super PAC? What are its limits? And how come Romney doesn't have to face some serious negative backlash as a result of these ads? The answers are a bit complicated, but they have something to do with the Supreme Court case in 2010 called Citizens United versus FEC. Citizens United is a conservative non-profit organization that is, quote, dedicated to restoring our government to citizen control. One of the ways they attempt to spread their message is by creating documentaries through Citizens United productions. These films sometimes feature high-ranking members of the GOP, including the Gingriches and Michelle Bachmann. Their most recent film is called The Gift of Life and features former Governor Mike Huckabee. Now, in 2008, Citizens United Productions wanted to release a documentary they've created about then Democratic primary candidate Senator Hillary Clinton as a video on demand via cable. The film, simply called Hillary the Movie, was a conservative viewpoint of the candidate and featured many people such as Newt Gingrich, who remember was Speaker during her husband's time in office, author Ann Coulter, commentator Lawrence Kudlow, as well as many other conservative viewpoints. The documentary was trying to make the argument that Senator Clinton didn't properly answer questions, lacked necessary experience, and was just seeking power without being able to properly handle it. Now, although the United States has freedom of speech, Citizens United is an organization and not a person. This meant the movie violated certain aspects of the 2002 Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, according to the Federal Election Commission. Section 203 of the bill states that corporations cannot use money from their general treasury to produce things known as electioneering communications a month prior to primary elections, which were also in January of that year. Electioneering communications are things like ads or campaigns that are used to promote people to vote for one candidate as opposed to another. So basically, all those commercials that make you want to throw a rock at the screen during election season. Other parts of the bill, mainly sections 201 and 311, require the organization to disclose donors, as well as a disclaimer saying the project is not authorized by the candidate it is supporting. Citizens United obviously disagreed. They filed for an injunction against the FEC claiming that 1. Section 203 violated their rights to free speech, and 2. Section 201 was non-constitutional given the circumstances. The Supreme Court denied the injunction because of precedent, mainly McConnell versus FEC, which worked to limit unrestricted donations to campaign funds, as well as upheld some of the things stated in Section 201 of the BCRA. Denying the injunction, Citizens United sued FEC, hence the case I mentioned earlier. Citizens United brings up some very important questions. 1. Did McConnell versus FEC really answer all the questions it was supposed to? Mainly, what type of bias should be allowed towards a candidate, when, and in what form? 2. Because Hillary the Movie is not necessarily for a candidate in particular or more against a candidate, does Citizens United have to follow some of the same protocol as stated in the BCRA, such as issuing a disclaimer? 3. And, in essence, what are the limits of free speech when it comes to elections and money? The results? In a 5-4 election based on ideological lines, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Citizens United. What does that mean? Well, certain parts of McConnell were overturned, and Citizens United Productions was allowed to run the movie. They still had to use some disclaimers, but at least they were allowed to run it at all. But what are the political implications? This case has been dictating how campaigns have been run since 2010. To avoid using serious political or legal terms, it means that corporations and organizations have the same freedom of speech rights as people. They can now use their general treasury funds for independent campaign-related expenditures. What that means is, if an organization wants to support, say, Mitt Romney, while they can't use their general treasury funds to donate to the campaign directly, if there's an independent organization that worked to support Mitt Romney, they could donate their money to that. Thus, the creation of the Super PAC, or Independent-Only Expenditure Committee. What's a Super PAC? Well, to answer that, we have to look into what a normal PAC is. A PAC, or Political Action Committee, are organizations that work to raise money for or against certain candidates. Many times, they represent businesses or certain ideological interests. PACs can raise up to $5,000 for a candidate per election. They can also donate $15,000 a year towards the national party committees. Now, a Super PAC does the exact same thing, only they can donate unlimited funds gathered from either corporations or people. Moreover, they don't have to disclose what certain groups have donated and how much, unlike official political campaigns, which do. They can also use their money to generate television ads about their candidates, which normal PACs cannot. And here is where we get back to Mitt Romney and Newt Gingrich in today's campaign. Newt Gingrich has been facing a serious drop in the polls, and some put some of the blame in those negative ads created by that super PAC Restore Our Future. When asked about it, Romney didn't seem very nervous about facing backlash. And the reason? He doesn't have to be. Here's why. Let's do a little bit of a comparison. In 2008, Romney was once again running the Republican primaries against many candidates, including former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee. Romney released some very negative ads against him and received serious backlash for it. Many television stations even refused to air it. This predates Citizen United and the Super PAC, which means the Romney campaign had to create all their own advertisements, both good and bad, which meant that Romney had to go on record saying that he approved of the messages in them. Today, most, not all, but most negative advertisements are created by super PACs that support the candidates, and not the candidates themselves. The candidate doesn't have to approve anything, and in many cases, has no way to. So sure, something can run that might be offensive, but the candidate no longer has to feel responsible for it. In essence, a lot of the dirty work is being pushed to outside groups that can raise unlimited funds to do said dirty work. To me, this is a huge deal, and it'll surely affect politics in the future. Or, if you ask Newt Gingrich, maybe it already has. So how do you feel about super PACs, the Iowa caucus, or who do you think is going to be the next Republican candidate? Leave a comment below because I would love to hear from you. Thanks. Bye.